Hello everyone. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how to interact with the Gemini models by using the generative text, generative models, AI and API models. So in the end of this tutorial, we are going to create a Gradio application like this. In that Gradio application, we are going to provide a context, and then we are going to provide the question about this context, and you will see that when we submit this query along with the context, the Gemini model will produce a result for us. Why we are doing all this? Because this tutorial is a part of the series for RAG systems. So retrieval augmented generation systems, we need to provide some context and then ask the questions. But before getting into the details of the RAG systems or the RAG pipeline, I would like to show you how can you interact with any Gemini language model by using this tutorial. So in that tutorial, actually we will cover lots of details. Therefore, this will be a separate tutorial for all of us. Let me show you here what we are gonna do. Here first we are gonna talk about how to install the Python SDK for the Gemini API. Then we are gonna talk about the existing LLM models and their all attributes provided by that API. And then actually we have two alternative interfaces to interact with these large language models, actually with some vision models as well. First, just generate text interface and interact with the model by using the chat interface. Actually, there are other ways, for example, generating the audio, video, or the image. But in that tutorial, I am not going to cover this. In that tutorial, my focus will be on how to generate text, actually. After that, we would like to see model and chat objects provided by that API, because we are going to heavily use the model and chat objects to interact with all the existing Gemini language models. After that, we are gonna structure the solution step by step in a way that as if we are designing a manual RAG pipeline. I will explain throughout this tutorial. And then, of course, we need to understand how many tokens we cost in the chat, because we need to at least guess the cost of all these operations. And then in the end of the tutorial, we are going to build a simple interface with Gradio, so we can interact with the whole large language model as a pipeline.
Bugünkü konumuzun detaylarına girmeden önce Murat Karakaya Akademi kanalı.
Okay, so let's continue with how to install the Python SDK. So it's very simple. As you see that we only need to install Google Generative AI package by using the pip install command. By the way, you can access all these related documents in the official website of Google Generative AI website. After installing all these, then you can just import the necessary classes. As you see that from the generative AI class, we will just import as generative AI, Gen AI, and I will use the markdown to print out the response in a better format, and I will use the display to display these responses. Okay, so we have some very convenient and small function to just wrap up the response in a better presentation. So basically, we are just using the provided text as out of the large language model. We will use the markdown command to just paint the necessary representation. For example, for the stars, we are going to convert the stars to the bullets like that. After then, of course, you might know that we need to get the Google API key for accessing the generative AI tools. You can visit the website, Google documentation, and you can, for free, you can generate this API key. Afterwards, you can just use the Colab, the secrets service, and then you can create your own API keys here, and by using this simple command, actually user data get with the keyword, and then you are now, by using this API key, your own API key, you easily access all the models in the pool of Google AI. So let me move on here. After that, we are ready to interact with the Google large language models. The first thing that I would like to show you the list of the available models. To do this, basically we request the list, and we are going to iterate over the list to see all the models. Now let me go over here. So these Gemini models here, all the Pro models, and here we have the Vision model as well. Then the Flash model, which is the cheapest one, and we are going to use this. But as I said, that if you generate your API key, and if you don't select any pricing plan, then you can use free these 1.5 Flash LLM as well, without paying a penny. You can do this. But of course, you have some limitations in the number of the tokens and in the rate, but it's not a big problem. As far as I learned, I use it for almost for a month. So there is not a hard limitation on usage. So you can use this. So we have the 1.5 Pro model as well, and the old models. So these are the language models. But actually, we have the embedding model, etc. And in that list, actually, you don't see the details of each model, like the context window and the temperature, etc. To see the details of these models, actually, you can just jump over to these model details, like here. So you can get the models, and then you can just print the model details as here. Let me show some of them. By the way, you know that it is a live broadcasting. So if you have any comments, let me check that. If you have any comments, you can put your comments as well. So by the way, let me say everybody hello. So if you are there, please let me know that you are here, so we can just communicate with each other. All right. So it's a live comment. You can live broadcasting, so you can comment, and I would like to answer your questions immediately. All right. So here, what you see is for each model. So that's a very old one, right? A legacy Palm 2 model, and you would see the input token 4K, output token 1K, and it can generate message. As far as I understand that it cannot chat model, okay? And then the temperature is default is 0.25. Top P and top key values are here. So you would go and understand here, but one more thing that here you see that embedding channel, embedding models. So you can use these embedding models. Actually, we are gonna use these embedding models for the retrieval augmented generation pipeline to embed our document database or data set. Here also you see that it is the embed text method we have, and we can also count the text tokens. Here, of course, we don't have any temperature, top P or top K, since it's just a embedding model. So here we have the Gemini 1.0 Pro, but let me go to the Flash one. Yes, for example, here Gemini 1. Flash, and there should be latest. Okay, Gemini 1. Flash latest. So you can check this, and you can get the version. If there was some base model, we would see it here, but there's no base model for it. And fast and versatile multi-model. So because it is called multi-model because basically it's supposed to image input as well. And the beauty of this Flash model is that even in the free version, it can support 1 million token input tokens and 8K output token. So let me explain something. When you see that the context window of 1 million, actually it does not mean that, for example, you provide 3K input and then it can generate a book, because the output token limit is much less than the input token context window. So be careful about this. And here we see that it's supposed to generate content, all right? And then the temperature default value is 1.0. So actually when you interact with the Gemini 1. Flash latest as a reg model, I would probably decrease this temperature to 0.3 or so. And top P is 0.95. So top K is 64. All right. And there are the other models details, but so far you would understand that we need to go over and check all these models. If you are going to use any of them, you need to be acknowledged about all these models. All right. Okay. By the way, if you want to support the Murat Karakaya Akademi YouTube channel, please click the like button or just leave a comment. A short comment could be good, because as you know, the YouTube algorithm just supports this kind of interaction with the videos, and then the algorithm would suggest the video to other interested audience. So I kindly request you, if you want to support this channel, please just click the like button or just leave a short comment. Okay, actually for this tutorial I'm going to cover two alternative interfaces with the existing large language models. One is just generate a text, and the second is turn this generate text into a chat. Actually, the generating text is very, very simple. How can we do? First of all, by using the provided library, we just select the generative model, because we are not going to use any embedding model, but a generative model. Then we provide the name of the model. So the name of the model, as you might remember, you can get the name of the model if we go over. So you can copy any of these model name depending on your use case. So actually it is so simple. There are some details, but I will come to details later during the tutorial. I will explain the details. So here, after that, you define your model. And of course, you can add a lot of parameters here. But for the moment, I would like to keep it simple. So after that, we can request the model to generate content according to our prompt. So how many different ways to access a model in Gemini API is my simple question to the model, and I will get the response from the model, and then I will use the text part of that response. As you see that if we click all this, now we are interacting with the model. So we are sending request over the internet, and we will get the response. After then, we are just pay attention that the response is painted as markdown by using the markdown language. So there are some bolts, there are some bullets, and other things. I think you know what is a markdown language is. So it provides several information. But here I would like to show you the response, because in here what we see is the response text. Okay, but actually the response is one of the important, very important object used in this large language model world. So let's see these objects in detail. So first of all, we would see that it is finished. There is no iteration. Sometimes you request 2 or 3 iterations and you try to select one of them, like the templates. You create several templates. Then here you see that the candidates, but we didn't request candidates. We only get one answer. So in that one candidate, we have the content. In that content, we have the parts. One of the part is the text, and the other part is the role. Okay. So here what you see that in the response object, we have the text and we have the role. So the role is model. So model is replying us with all these text. All right. In that response object also we have the why we finished. There could be many other reasons, but this is the stop, because model stop generating text. And there are the Google or Gemini related information. In Gemini, we could have several safety ratings. So the text here is, after generating this text, actually Gemini decides the level of the risks. So these are the 4 category about these risks, and these are the for each risk level. Sometimes you might see that if there is some higher, if there's some risk, for example, this risk level probability is higher, then Gemini could stop, because it thinks that it is very risky to generate text. So you can see and understand the reason by looking into the response object. All right. But as we use the just generate content function, actually this is just a function to generate text depending on the current prompt. So if I ask, which API did I ask you? As you see here, let me run if you like. The model will not remember what I have asked before, because as it is written here, I have no memory of past conversations, because we are using generate content. So why we need to use the generate content? If your application does not require any memory, past interaction with the model, you can use this because it's simple for the model. You send a request and you get the answer. You send another request, you get another answer. There is no relationship between or among the request and answers. So that is the actually generate content. But we can use the other interface for multi-turn conversations. So it's called actually chat. How can we do? Actually, still we need to initialize a model as we did before. And then this time, first we need to start chat instead of generate content with a fresh history. So this model is initialized with a start chat with fresh history, empty history, let me say. Then we can call this model now a chat model. So by using the chat object, we can use the function send message, and I will send exactly the same question to the model, and then I will share the response text. So if you click and run, you would see that almost the same answer will arrive, as you see here. Okay, but if we continue chatting by sending messages, the chat object automatically adds my question and the model answer to the end of the already exchanged messages. So if I ask which API did I ask you, you would see that here he or model remembers that we are talking the Gemini API. Okay. So after understanding the difference between generate content and send message, it is up to you select one of them according to your application requirement. In the future or upcoming tutorials, I will select accordingly. For example, if your reg application requires, for example, a summarization of what we are discussed during the reg operations, you would use chat. But in your reg operation, always there is one question, one answer, then you would use generate content. But let me go and dive into details of the model and chat objects. First of all, let's see the model. So when you see the model object, the internal structure, we have the name, we have the generation config. Actually, we can decide the temperature, type key values here. As safety settings, you would increase the level of the risks or decrease the level of the risk. And tools are here for the function calling. And here we have the system instruction. I will not cover these three, but I would like to talk about the system instruction because it is important for us to make the model play a role. Or if we need to provide a system prompt, actually, in Gemini API, we don't have any system prompt. In ChatGPT, similar models or the models similar to ChatGPT has some system prompt. So you provide this system prompt, it's a special prompt so that the behavior of the model changed accordingly. But in Gemini API, we don't have the system prompt, but we have, as I show here, a system instruction. But there is no guarantee that system instruction behave like a system prompt. However, I will use this system prompt, system instruction as system prompt. Let me show you how I will do. I will create a system prompt as you see here. In that system prompt, actually, let me go and show you the details. Okay. Actually, this prompt, I designed this prompt for the reg application, retrieval augmented generation. So I just started a tutorial series for the reg pipeline. You can access the reg tutorials in the video description. I shared a link with you. You can check this. So here, basically what I am saying that I will provide some text documents or some part of the text, a couple of texts. So you would read this text and then reply my question according to this text. If these texts that do not have the information to reply to the question, just say me that I don't know. Otherwise, do not use your general information. Just use the provided context. Therefore, this is my actually system prompt. So if I run this, after that, I will provide this system prompt as a system instruction when I initialize my Gemini model. So when I initialize the Gemini model, I will just instruct that use this prompt to start the model. Okay. As we did before, we will just start chat with a fresh empty history. Now let's see the model again. If you look at the model, you would see that this time we have the instruction already embedded in the model. So the model has been initialized with that system instruction. So as the documentation pointed out that there is no guarantee that system instruction work as system program. But I will check it. Let's check. So I will ask, what is your task? And send this message. So if you ask this a question like that to a large language model at the start of the chat, it cannot reply at all, right? But as our model already initialized with the system instruction, I would like to see that this system instruction works as system prompt and the model replies me accordingly. Let's check it. Okay, now look at that. My task is to assist user with their question request to the best of my ability using the knowledge and information I have been trained on. So you see that it's not correct actually, right? Now this time it's not correct. Let's go back and again initialize the model once more. Here is the system. Let's ask that what is your task again. Let's see that if it understands the system instruction. Now this time, look, my task is to act as an attentive and supportive academic assistant as I task it here. You see that here. So if we go continue, you will provide a question related to now perfectly it understood his job. Okay, now we can continue with the chat object. So if you just see the internal structure chat object, you see that it is actually a chat session with a model. Of course, the model has been initialized already, right, with the instruction. This is the model part of the chat. After that, we have the history, the second part. In the history, actually, we have the parts. In the first part and in the second part, the first part is my question. You see that the role is user. The second part of the history is the text generated by the model. So, as we are going to see in the tutorial in a moment, the chat object automatically adds my new prompt and the generated text by the model. Now, let's see that how can we access the chat history. Let's see here. Here we can access the chat history as text. What is your task? The part, the role is user. Another part is the reply from model. So you would see that these parts here and these parts are the communication between user and the model. Okay, let's print the chat history a bit formal ways. Therefore, I will use the to mark down. Okay, let me show you. And then let me print the chat history. Now, here you see that user asking this. I have a separation line. And the model answer this. I have another separation line. So we can understand what's going on. Now, let's chat according to the system instruction. So I hope that the model will remember the system instruction all the time. And so that depending on that system instruction, I can build a RAG pipeline for the tutorials. So let's, for the sake of RAG, let's provide a question, okay? And let's provide some text, okay? So my idea is to check that if model will reply only using these context to answer my question, or will it use its own general information? As you know that in retrieval augmented generation, we don't like the model use its general information to reply my specific questions. So my prompt will be the combination of this question plus excerpt the text, and then I will send this to the chat model by using send message, and I will get the answer and print the or format the answer as a markdown. Let's run this. Here you see the time passing, so it's not a big deal. It's not 1 millisecond. It's also total is 1 millisecond. And then here the answer is that, by the way, my question is that what's the difference between chat and generate context? But according to these very, very small text. So it just answers me that the excerpt explains the key difference between, here is the breakdown. But if you see that these answers solely only depends on that provided context. So that's what I would like to see actually. Okay. Now let's continue. Ask another question. This time the question is the same actually, but this time we have different text. Let's do it. Let's see that if the answer is changed, according to the context. Here now, again, it mentions the provided context. So it says that it doesn't directly compare to chat, right? So I don't know. Do you see that this keyword? Because this keyword, I don't know, comes from my instruction. Because in my instruction, I said that just say, I don't know if the provided context does not have any information to reply with. So far, we understood that the model follows my system instruction, right? Let's continue here. Now, this time I will ask, summarize the chat so far. I will not provide any context because the context is the chat so far. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. Let's see that if it works right now. We started by the role of academic assistant. You then ask me difference between chat and generate content. The first, yes, it remembers exactly what we have done. So almost so far, we have created a manual reg application. Of course, we provide only one paragraph. That's the question, but assume that you can provide several paragraphs. Okay. By the way, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions from the chat screen. I am looking at the chat screen. So far, I didn't see any questions. Okay. If you have any, please don't hesitate to ask. All right. Now let's move on. Let's ask how to strip the chat. Actually, I don't provide any context, but I would like to see that if it remembers the chat, the whole chat, and can find any information to reply. Actually, it can reply that you didn't provide any except, or here it says that the provided excerpts do not mention. So it checked it and it replied. So far, it is very good. It's working how I wish, how I desire, how I expect. Perfect. Now, if we create a reg system, then, or if you are developing any AI application, you might need to understand the cost. Sometimes costs get easily higher. So one way to understand or predict the cost is the counting the how many tokens. Because if you go to the pricing page, you would see that the large language models like ChatGPT or GPT for Omni, the Gemini models, or the other models provide the pricing according to 1 million token. So, and in the context window, you are always exchanging all the history with the large language model. Here, I will show you how can you easily calculate the number of tokens in the chat history. But actually, this does not necessarily mean the total number of tokens exchanged between the model and your application, because at each time you are sending excuse me, at each time when you send a message to your model, actually you are sending your latest message plus the whole chat story. So the total number of tokens exchanged between you and the model is not the total numbers of the chat history. Be careful. It should be much more than this. So be careful about this. But there is no, in the API, at least for the Gemini API, I couldn't locate any other method to help us to predict the total numbers of tokens exchanged during the chat story. But believe me that these total tokens, the chat story tokens, does not necessarily mean the cost. The total tokens exchanged between you and the model would be much more than this. Okay. Now we are at the end of our tutorial. Now we are gonna just build a simple interface with Gradio. If you know that Gradio, it's a very, very handy tool for especially developing some interfaces to the AI models. So basically, you need to provide a function, then you can call this function in the interface. So to do this, I will just import the Gradio. Then I will just create a helper function to build my model and chat model. So here you see that. And then I have a very simple function. When I provide the prompt, the excerpt and the chat, it will just return this result. Okay. Here. But it must be actually context, I believe. This must be context. Let's do it, change it. Okay. And then here we have another function to call the chat with Gemini, providing the chat object. Okay, it's important. Then we need to have the system prompt as before. All right. Now let's put everything together and create the chat object by using the system prompt and the model already. Now we have a simple and sample prompt for the interface. In that interface, actually, we first need to define the interface. Here, I am saying that for that interface, you are gonna run chat interface function that I already here. This function, which calls chat with Gemini function by just passing the prompt and context. Okay, very simple ideas. And then I would say that there will be two inputs, one for prompt, one for context. And the default values, I already provide these sample values. And then the output must be markdown, okay? And the title of the interface and the description. So let me run this. Okay. Then after that, you can just launch this interface by share true and debug true. So by share true, actually you can share this link with your friends. So as long as the collab works, your friends can access this for 72 hours. So here you see the, let me go down. Okay. Let's see this interface. Here is the Chat with Gemini title. Type your question with context to Chat with Gemini model. Here my question is, what is FC? Here is the some context related with FC. Actually, I just copy and paste the function calling options in the Gemini models, but I changed the function calling with FC. So then I just like to submit the question asking what is FC according to this context. So based on the provided text, that's what I am looking for. A function f, so it understood that function f is the function. If you check that, there is f only, there is no function here, and it answers my all questions. So let me ask another question. What is f? Let me ask this case. Okay, and let's submit the question. So that's the second question, right? So here's f stands for function. It says that. Now let me ask something. It's not the what is streaming, right? Normally it can understand streaming, but it should reply as I don't know. Yes, exactly. That's a big success for a language model. Now it shows that it still follows my prompt. Let's clear everything. Let's ask what were my questions. Now I would like to see that if it can understand my question and reply with all my two questions, or it can just state that there is no context, there is no information in the context. Let's see how it reacts. Either way, yes, you ask the following question: what is FC? What is F? What's streaming? So as you see that actually for the moment we have just finished our tutorial. So in that tutorial, actually what we have done, let me wrap up. So we have a short introduction, Gemini API for text generation and chat. So we just learn how to get connected to any Google large language model. Then we see that how to run all these two in that two ways, generate text and chat interfaces. Then we talk about the model object, system prompt as the system instruction, and chat object in detail. After that, we just create a chat system as a manual reg system. We see how to count the tokens in the chat history. Then we just build a simple interface with Gradio. And for the upcoming tutorial, I will continue for the constructing a reg, retrieval augmented generation pipeline. Therefore, in the next upcoming tutorial, I am going to talk about ChromoDB as a vector database. So let me check if do you have any questions in the chat screen? I don't see for the moment. So if you want to support the channel, please click the like button and please interact with the video by just sharing a simple comment like thank you, it's okay with me, so that the Google YouTube algorithm take care of us. All right, thank you for your patience. See you in the next tutorial to cover ChromoDB vector database. Take care. Bye bye.